This is potentially some really big news. Hello my friends, I hope you're having a lovely October 4th. For today's big story, we're talking about a patent that Nintendo has filed, and I've been picking it apart, and it certainly seems like based on this patent, Nintendo is going to do something with classic Game Boy games for smartphones. So in this patent we see this device that looks like a Game Boy, but it's actually a shell for smartphone devices, so you enclose your smartphone in it. And the buttons on the front of this faux Game Boy are real, they work. There's a capacitive layer that interacts with the touchscreen on your phone, so when you push, the A button on this Game Boy, it'll touch the touchscreen and register a button impress, so you actually play with physical buttons, but it's making contact with the touchscreen inside the case itself. And then the case has a cutout for where the Game Boy screen would be, and that's just an open space that lets you see into your cell phone screen, obviously for playing games. Now again, this is a Nintendo patent, and as I always say, patents don't mean that Nintendo's actually going to release this product, but hopefully they do here. Let's say that that's their plan, they're going to release this product. Well, what would you be playing? It looks like a Game Boy. The patent doesn't reference Game Boy games specifically, but obviously it looks exactly like a Game Boy, and the screen is cut out for the Game Boy screen. What else in the world would you be playing other than Game Boy games? Now, Nintendo is not going to create a product for smartphones that is aimed at Game Boy games and say, here, go out there and find games to download on your own to play. Nintendo would never do that. So it would seem to indicate that Nintendo has, along with this patent, some sort of plans to release classic Game Boy games for cell phones. That's the only thing in my mind that makes sense. They're making a device that looks like a Game Boy, as I said, with the purpose of playing games. What other games are you going to play besides Game Boy games? They're not going to adapt like Super Mario Run and have you play with a Game Boy shell. That doesn't even make any sense. Or Fire Emblem or anything else that they have out there. So, like I said in the beginning, this is potentially really big news. Tom Makes Stuff over on Twitter says, I wonder if we'll get a smartphone add-on rather than a Game Boy Classic then. Yeah, that might actually make sense. It seems like Nintendo might want to do something like that. Obviously, we've seen the classic line with the NES and Super Nintendo, and people are wondering what Nintendo's going to do next for their classic lineup of hardware, and nostalgia's really big right now. And I know the N64, as far as I've heard from reports, the N64 is the most popular retro system at retro shops right now, so perhaps they're working on that. But yeah, there's still the whole Game Boy library, tons and tons of games there. And there's certainly a lot of nostalgia tied into that platform as well, so you would think Nintendo would want to do something with it. And many imagine they would do something much like what they did with the NES or Super Nintendo, although it would be self-contained. But it seems like Nintendo might be going a route that will already put the main part of the device into players' hands. Cell phones. Millions and millions of cell phones are out there. And obviously, this would allow Nintendo to provide a service that gets updated with games as time goes on. If they're doing an app that you download, something like the Switch Online NES collection of games, but for Game Boy games on cell phones, then they could update that with more games as time goes on. And obviously, it would be cheaper to make a shell for smartphones than it would be to produce a physical unit with a screen and all that stuff. So, if this is what Nintendo's doing, if they are planning some sort of virtual console Game Boy service for smartphones, which is such a crazy thing to say, I think it makes a lot of sense. Utilize what people already have. Nintendo likes to push mobile as well as their other platforms, so why the hell not? On top of this, I have to point out that the patent does say that, yes, this is for smartphones, but it could be used for other things with screens that work in the same way. So, I don't know what you want to imagine there. Any kind of device that has that screen, I guess you could attach this shell in some way or overlay the shell in some way. But obviously, it's aimed at regular smartphones like this, so man, I would love to hear more on this. It's really exciting and such a I don't want to say unique, but such an interesting idea. Because there is another company, I don't know if they released it or not. It was HyperKing. They had a product that attached to your smartphone, used your smartphone screen as a Game Boy screen, but this thing that they made actually took real Game Boy cartridges that you had to put into play. I love that idea, very cool. So the idea of playing Game Boy games on smartphones isn't new, but Nintendo going this route and then doing some kind of service, or even if it's not a service that's updated regularly, just an app that has a select amount of games that are always going to be the games that you have to play, still, it's not a way I ever thought Nintendo would approach maybe revisiting the Game Boy in some way. So fingers crossed this is one of those patents that Nintendo actually, you know, follows through with and releases to the public, because I'm all about it. Sounds like a lot of fun. Alright, my friends, that's today's big story for October 4th, 2018. Thanks for watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting. It's very much appreciated. I will be back tomorrow with whatever tomorrow's big story is, and I sure hope you'll join me to check it out. So until then, have a lovely day and a lovely evening, and I'll see you in a few short hours. Hey guys, RMC here from Go Nintendo. If you like what you saw in the video, why don't you give us a thumbs up and maybe even subscribe? We'd love to have you. If you want to see what else we're up to, you can check out GoNintendo.com for 24-hour Nintendo news. You can visit us on Facebook at Facebook.com/GoNintendo. You can check us out on Twitter at Twitter.com/GoNintendoTweet. And we're even over on Instagram at Instagram.com/GoNintendo. I put all the links in the description just to make it easier for you guys to follow. Thanks a lot.